Welcome back to our Difference Maker Leadership Podcast series for 2023. We're using this series to share the stories and learnings of successful leaders that are making a positive impact in the world around us with the hope that we, the total community of Diamond C, all of our friends and family are inspired and challenged to greater heights. So with that, I'd like to welcome today's special guest leader, Mr. Chuck Howard, who is nothing less than a local hero from my view, because he recently built and opened our first and only Chick-Fil-A right here in Mount Pleasant, Texas. So welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. I got to tell you, we are blessed to be here. It's been a journey for sure. This is our third time to be at a different Chick-fil-A.
Oh, wow.
But this is where we aimed on being. We bought a place out here in 2018, and the second that we bought it, we figured, my goodness, this is home. So
cool.
Our journey, hopefully, this is kind of an end, if you will.
Yeah.
But we're really enjoying it.
Well, it's a great place to be. And
Agreed.
If you say end, I'll say finish strong. It's a great place.
There you go.
Born and raised here, and I'm obviously a fan of little old Mount Pleasant and East Texas. So we're glad that you're here. Anyone that's worked around me for the last several years knows that I'm a Chick-fil-A fanboy, and not just for the chicken. I do love the product, but not just for the chicken, but for also the values of the organization, the mission of the organization, and I think the precedence even that Chick-fil-A sets for how to do business better and in a more purposeful way than what so much of the world is used to and exposed to. So naturally, as soon as at your grand opening a couple months ago, and I was drawn to you to get to know you and learn from you and hear some of your stories. So I'm just so excited that we get to spend a bit of time together today. And I wanted to ask you, before we kind of get into the meat of leadership experience and life learnings and these things, if you would just kind of onboard our listeners to a bit of the brief version of your story, kind of who you are, where'd you come from, what brings you to Chick-fil-A and to today.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and say I'm retired military.
Okay.
So you're going to have to probably pull me back. Military people love to tell stories.
That's great.
Everything is about the storytelling. So I'm just a kid from south of Memphis, Tennessee. Grew up, went to Memphis State. Have a business degree in HR. So that, of course, led directly into me being a U.S. Air Force pilot.
Okay. I was about to ask before.
Complete connection there.
Yeah.
We enjoyed a 24-year career in the Air Force all over the world. Been married for 35 years to the same lady who lets me come to the same house every night. Yeah. It's a great thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have two daughters. One is 29, or excuse me, one's 28. She is a vice president of children's services at a group home in Keller, Texas. Also an attorney, non-practicing right now. And my oldest daughter, who we talked about a few minutes ago, is an HR professional who just came to work to be my operating partner at Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
And I could not be happier as a dad.
Yeah.
I certainly envisioned this as I came into the business. Gosh, what would it be like to work with one of my kids? So I'm so excited to see kind of where that goes.
Cool.
I have 4 grandkids.
Nice.
1 granddaughter who runs the whole batch, and then 3 grandsons, and they're incredible. We are home, like I said, in Mount Pleasant. Our secondary home is Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay. Wow.
And we just love being here.
Yeah. So. Awesome. We're so glad that you're here. So how did you go from 24 years in the military to Chick-fil-A? I mean, what's the journey there?
Why not Southwest? Well, all of my friends fly for Southwest. The short and it's not a trite answer; it's a true answer.
Sure.
Is I like being at home.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in the military, I spent 20 of my wife's 24 birthdays away.
Mm-hmm.
So I like being at home.
Right.
I found out after 24 years of deployments. And constantly traveling. I actually do like my wife.
Right.
She's a great lady. So okay, I can fly regionals, I can do those kind of things. But frankly, the thing that I loved the most about being in the Air Force was the opportunity to have influence on young people's lives,
Right.
and to help them move from here to there, and make something worthwhile of it. And I tell you, every day when I walk in that building, I get that opportunity. And it goes from, I've got my oldest person, I believe, is 65, and my youngest is 14.
Right.
And I get that opportunity across that spectrum.
Wow.
And how great is that?
That's awesome.
So
That's
that
awesome.
was the biggest thing. Mr. Cathy, you talked about the Chick-fil-A ethos. Mr. Cathy once, in the first story, Mr. Cathy once was asked to speak for President Bush's Council on Business Ethics. He stood up at the council at the podium, and in his very nasally Southern tone, he said, "Well, I was asked to speak on business ethics." He said, "Well, I don't know what that is." He said, "I know there's ethics." He said, "and I'm in business." He said, "But I don't know that there's anything that's called business ethics." And I knew immediately when I heard that story, I'm like, I want to listen to more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
put those two things together, and that's kind of what drew me.
Cool.
And it's been a journey for sure. Some easy, some pretty doggone hard. I'll love to tell you a story sometime about 2020 when we closed the doors to our dining room because of COVID. It was that was an interesting journey. So but it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. I love that your transition to Chick-fil-A was really identifying your passions, identifying what you were passionate about. You knew you wanted to invest in young people and people in general and grow them. And then you're seeing this opportunity with Chick-fil-A and putting the pieces together. That's a really a special thing that I think so many people in general are, searching for. How do I learn and understand my own passions and gifting and ability, and then where does it fit into the world, and what's the right match? And so that's a cool story how you put two and two together there. So I'm curious, around the world military career, I'm sure you've got, you said plenty of stories to tell, plenty of lessons learned.
There's not enough computer space.
Yeah, that's right. Plenty of hard lessons learned, plenty of incredible experiences that you took lessons away from. So, considering your kind of life and leadership journey so far, from military career, South Memphis to Chick-fil-A today, over the course of that journey, what would you say are perhaps a few of the defining moments or kind of key lessons learned that shaped the leader that you are today?
Well, I'll kind of go in order, but I'll start by saying we don't get anywhere without the help from others.
That's right.
Without the help of mentors, without the help of folks who have been here, folks who have cleared the path for us. So, without spending a lot of time on those folks, I'll say that I stand on the shoulders of a bunch of giants for sure.
Right.
But I'll tell you, there are three that kind of stand out. One is it's a take on Isaiah 6:8. Here I am, Lord, send me. It's more, but my take on it is, why not me?
Right.
You look around and you think, okay, this has got to be done. And I'm not talking about, taking out the trash, although it does apply.
Right.
I'm talking about things like a South Memphis boy, from some inauspicious beginnings, going to pilot training.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even walk and chew bubble gum, Jeffrey. And everybody tells me, well, you got to have this athletic ability and you got to have this math thing going on. And I'm okay at math. I like math, but I'm not really good at athletics. But either way, I looked at some of my friends and I said to myself, why not me? I know he made it. I know she made it. And I know that all they did was put their head down and drive.
Right.
With some support, obviously.
Yes.
The nice lady who lets me live with her.
Right.
We were married during pilot training, which is also unusual. But I thought to myself, every time I got into a bind or something that kind of challenged me, I said, why not me? Why am I the guy that's doing this? What's driving me, right? And it was every time I came back to, well, my friends are doing it. I can do it. God's got my back.
Right.
So on and so forth. So that's kind of the first one. And I still say that to myself all the time. Why not me?
Right.
Why can't I be the guy that figures out a way to get, more people through the drive-thru, our mobile orders faster, our hospitality greater. Why not me? And the answer is we try all the time.
Right. So constantly challenging yourself and not discounting yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. So, the second thing I'll say is I had a mentor, and I got to call him out by name. I hope to goodness someday he'll listen. Love him dearly. A guy named Otto Feather. And Otto told me one time, he said, like, you're going to make it. And I said, well, thanks. Why?
Gee, thanks.
Why? and he says, well, because you're Chuck Howard. And I'm like, no, I'm not buying that one. What do you got? And he several times across my career, he offered me jewels in just the right time. But the one that I hold on to every day, and I teach my kids and I teach the folks that work with me at Chick-Fil-A, is he always said to me, Chuck, never miss the opportunity to say yes. And the reason why is because learning is in the yes. Learning is not in the no. He said, yes, you don't want to be silly and make, wild jumps off of ledges and things like that. He said, but if you take this assignment and it doesn't happen to be the best one, I promise you'll learn just as much as the assignment that you took and it was the best one.
Right.
So again, I come back to, never miss the opportunity to say yes. I listed a couple of things down here. I went to a different airplane midway through my career. Normally kind of I'm not real sure how good an idea that is. Man, it worked out. It helped me to get promoted. It helped me to get opportunities in different career fields that I wouldn't have been in. It taught me big logistics.
Right.
It was an incredible opportunity. My first restaurant, my first Chick-Fil-A, was an old barrel roof. You guys probably don't even know. So these were like little bitty restaurants, and they had the rounded roofs.
Yeah.
They were made to produce no more than $1 million a year in Chick-fil-A.
Right.
That was the hardest restaurant I have ever seen. I have a friend who's got one that's a little bit harder right now, but he's about to get a brand new one. And I was like, okay, this is going to be tough. And there were a couple times where I had my hands around my keys and I'm like, Lord, have you got me? Am I going to be okay? And the answer always came back, yeah, you're going to be fine. And then of course, with my daughters, I talk to them about, don't miss that opportunity to say yes. I told you I have a non-practicing attorney. Well, she was offered the opportunity to go to Zambia for a summer in I think it was between her sophomore and her junior year in college. You want to talk about a dad that was like, oh no,
right?
no.
I can't imagine.
But she didn't have a second of thought.
Right.
She's like, yeah, I'm going. I'm going to work with Family Legacy. I'm going to work with this school orphanage. I'm going to make a difference, right? She came back. She said, all right, Dad, I'm quitting school. I'm going to work with. No, that's not the yes we're talking about here. But she did. We had the discussion. I said, you can help hundreds or you can help thousands. And she went to law school. So, and then as a practicing attorney, I think 4 years in, she was approached by a nonprofit, a group home for young people, and said, hey, we need somebody like you that can help us understand the law, the grants, and also who has a heart for adoption and fostering like she does. My granddaughter is adopted.
Okay.
And she said yes, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, you're a 4-year attorney. Right. I just paid for a lot of law school, and the people of Texas did too, by the way. They helped me out.
Sure.
But she made the right decision because she was willing to say yes. My oldest daughter just made the decision to come here and work with me after several years with a conglomerate working in HR. And she made the jump because she's like, Dad, I need this. I'm like, all right, here's the opportunity. Let's go. So never miss the opportunity to say yes. Yeah, that's the second one. And the third one is still really developing. But I'll tell you, it's based off of the idea of grace. Not just grace from a maker, but grace across the realm. I'll say that I want to make sure that I get the right idea across here. Our vision statement at my company is reach out and feed our community, both inside and outside the restaurant.
Right.
Every word has a meaning. I'm not going to spend the time on your podcast about it, but it talks about people's innate need to be seen, to be fed.
Absolutely.
To be heard.
Absolutely.
All of those things, right? And not just in the restaurant, not just in the drive-through,
right,
but in the community. And that's what we're about. And the allowance for me and the second chances for me and the grace that I've seen, it's just been incredible as I've traveled more. There's and I'm going to read his name because I'm going to mess it up. John Mark Comer put out a podcast called First Half, Second Half. It talks about two mountains in life. The first mountain is where, man, you do the best that you can, and you achieve, and you produce, right? And that's what we do. He's right.
Right.
He said, and there's a second mountain. He said, most of us don't see it and some never see it until we're in our 50s or 60s. And that second mountain is, okay, now I have to do for others because I've done for me. I've made my mark. I have a quote unquote legacy. That word is squishy, but
right. Get what you mean. Yeah.
But the second mountain is, okay, how do I leave a mark? How do I help others? How do I get there? And he says the valley between is sometimes you don't see it real well, and sometimes you get lost in that valley. Some people never make that second peak. But when I heard this podcast, man, it just buttered up my whole soul because I'm thinking to myself, oh, I know, here I am, here I am. So I'll just say that grace gets you through that valley because when people look at you and see your effort and see that you're trying and see that you actually care,
right?
Man, they will shove you to that second mountain. So those are kind of three of the things that I picked out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they're meaningful to anybody, but
absolutely meaningful. So much of what I love about your last point there is what I see you doing now is still climbing. I mean, you just started a brand new Chick-Fil-A franchise in a new town. That's quite a feat you're 2 months in. You're hustling right now, trying to get that thing established and flowing, and I know
my love to everyone who comes through the drive-thru. I promise.
But this ambition through that process to give grace, get grace, give grace, share grace. Right. One of the previous guests on the podcast, young lady, actually said from her life journey, she shared this idea of lift as you climb.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And I love
it's a beautiful.
It works so well with what you just explained about your philosophy on your business at this point and the mission of your restaurant and your people and the people you're leading and you're working to make a difference in this city. Let's give grace, get grace, share grace, love each other in the process. It's an incredible, beautiful thing. And I think that leads me to say, I wonder if it has to be separate mountains,
Yeah.
How should we, I think we should figure out and aspire, no matter how young or old we are, we should hopefully aspire. And maybe that's a takeaway here is, no matter where we are in our journey, aspire to lift as we climb, rather than it having to be separate things. But, man, it's powerful concept for sure. From don't discount yourself.
Right.
Don't miss the opportunity to say yes. Learning lessons. Learning lessons along the way. That definitely shifts the perspective in what things in life are good, bad, challenging, otherwise. When the purpose of it is to learn and to grow through highs, lows, and all in between. And then, give grace through the process.
You bet.
So, man, thank you so much for sharing those things.
You bet.
The last piece of this that I always ask our guests is to help us make it actionable. So we're always looking for whatever we learn. We've been blessed to hear some of your kind of key philosophies and leadership learnings. So how do we translate that to action? And do you have anything that any challenge you would extend to our listeners to take a step or to apply something that you've shared with us today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I'm not going to attribute this because it was to all of the leaders who have ever made anything of me, the boy from South Memphis, right? I'll say this, and I'm going to look at the camera for
please.
this one. Folks, joy comes from the inside of you. You were either blessed with it or you were born with it. It is innate. Joy is inside of you. Here's what I will tell you, and I will challenge you. You can share it. You can lend it. You can even give some of it. But do not let people steal it. Because joy is something that was a gift that was given to us. No matter what your beliefs are, joy was placed in our heart at the moment of conception. That being said, fight negativity. Man, fight it. Because when you hear people say a negative thing or they get into a despair situation, share some joy. Share them. Right. And here's my challenge. If you want to change your world, you want to change your community, start with yourself. Grab that joy that's inside of you. Don't let anybody steal it from you. Happiness, everyone knows happiness is external. Happiness can come from your phone. Happiness can come from a meal. I obviously know that.
Happiness can come from Chick-Fil-A. That's what you meant to say.
Yeah, exactly. But happiness is external, but joy, man, don't give that away because that is what's inside of you. That is what will drive you. And if you want to change the world around you, joy is so absolutely catching. It is. It's worse than COVID.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So I would challenge everybody, especially here locally. Man, what a wonderful community we have. I moved from I've lived in Abilene, wonderful community. I love them dearly. I could see myself if I looked far over in the distance, but lived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Loved that community as well. 8.5 million of my closest friends lived right there with me and shared 2 lanes. But man, you come to Mount Pleasant and you look at the trees, you look at the lakes, and you look at the friendly people that live here. Man, just share some joy about not only yourself, but about Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you so much. I take that as almost the gateway to the first 3 lessons. That embracing joy, guarding your joy, sharing it, fighting negativity. It's almost the gateway to the learning and the growth and the sharing of joy through the lift as you climb experience. That doesn't happen without knowing and embracing that innate joy. Right? Yeah,
absolutely.
And those are powerful challenge. That challenge will make the world a better place. They're going to rise to the challenge. So thank you so much for your time today. I know that with a 2-month-old franchise, your time is very valuable right now. I know it.
Did I mention my daughter is coming on?
Yeah. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come and share some of your kind of leadership life lessons learned and to challenge our viewers. I know that as we just said, that the lessons you shared, the challenge you shared will go on to impact the world, make the world around us a better place, not just in Mount Pleasant, but far and wide, everywhere across the nation where we have listeners tuning in. So with that, thank you all so much for listening in today, for learning with me. Now the hard part, let's go. And as we say at Diamond C, do work, love strong, and be the difference.